All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll ask if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, I will ask if there are any nominations for chair or vice chair.
I would like to nominate Zach Card for chair. And I would like to Kelly Nolan for vice chair. I don't know if I could do two at once.
Sure. Do I have a seconder for those nominations? And are you guys are okay with the nominations? Can I get an all in favor? Okay, and I'll pass it over to Chair Card.
Thank you, everyone. Didn't want to be presumptuous and set up in the big chair, but thank you, everyone, for coming. And Josh has called this meeting of Community Safety and Wellbeing Advisory Committee to order on this November 27th. So I will continue to the approval of the agenda, please. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Okay, that will be carried. I will continue to the approval of the minutes, if someone would like to move that. Okay, that is so moved. Do I have a seconder? Okay, Inspector Reeve. Do we have any discussion on the minutes, or if not, we can take a vote on that as well. Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Okay, that is carried as well. All right, we will continue to public input, and I don't see any. Lisa would like to. There we go, right in the front row. Perfect. I will invite Lisa Kuipers of the Trenton DBIA. She would like to go to the microphone, and it's for the online folks, but okay, I'll hand it over to you.
Sorry. Lisa Kuipers from the Downtown Trenton DBIA. I don't know if this is the right forum to reach out and ask, but I understand that Hastings County did not fund our street nurse downtown or for the community. And I wonder what's going on or going to go forward for a street nurse.
That is a very good question. We were very sorry to hear that news. The social worker that the community health center has also was funding for that position. As I understand, it was also denied, but. Director Grimman will have a sort of a mini report or update, I guess you will say, a little bit later in the agenda, and we'll speak to that a little bit for you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so if there's no further public input, I will move on to delegations, and seeing no delegations at this point, I will move on to correspondence, of which I do not believe that there's any at this point. So I think that we can jump right to items for committee's consideration. And I will invite Rebecca Cotter to speak about the action tables and task force updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. So it's my pleasure to provide a brief update since we last met on the work of the Housing Action Table, the Mental Health and Addiction Action Table, and the Quinte West Community Task Force. So each of these three groups, as you know, are committees under the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. They are scheduled to meet monthly in the earlier part of each month. And so this being the end of November, we've met 3 times since this group was last together. Most recently, we conducted what is the beginning of a performance review process to understand collectively where each of these committees and action tables are relative to the priorities and deliverables of the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan. Previously to this committee, I provided an update that we're at approximately year 2.5 in the 3-year duration of our first version of the plan. So I'm working with each of these 3 groups to understand what we've done collectively and what each partner on each of these 3 committees is doing within their parent organizations to help further the mandate of the plan overall and work collectively to achieve its goals. So, like I said, this is the beginning of an ongoing performance management analysis process. My hope is that these conversations continue at our monthly meetings into the early new year. After approximately Q1 of next year, we hope to have a fairly robust summary of our performance over the 3 years of the plan, with the anticipation of bringing back to this committee a review of that summary and then sharing it with council moving into the late spring or early summer when the plan is officially set to expire. But there's also a conversation to be had today about work that we are planning moving forward into the next iteration of the plan. I also just wanted to share a brief update on behalf of the In Their Shoes Walk Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Quinte West Community Task Force. So this subcommittee has come together officially now as of the November meeting and set the date for the second In Their Shoes Walk being Sunday, February 25th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. So members on this committee will recall the first In Their Shoes Walk that took place this past February 2023 to great success. We had several hundred community members come out to participate in that walk through the downtown Trenton, stopping in at the various partners and agencies that support the folks living in unhoused conditions. And there were various initiatives, educational sessions, and charity fundraising that went on with that event. And the group will continue to meet approximately every 3 weeks into the early new year to plan for next year's event. So I look forward to sharing more details with this committee about that. And that concludes my update.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there any kind of cross discussion or questions for Rebecca regarding her update at this point? Okay, I will move on to Director Grimmin to give an update regarding a potential Loyalist College opportunity.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair, to the committee. We met recently with Loyalist College and some of the members of faculty there to discuss what we understand is some potential upcoming funding opportunities. We don't have all the details of that as of yet. What we do know is that the information is still currently embargoed, so we are kind of working to get ahead as much as we possibly can and look at any opportunities that might be available. We do know that the funding opportunity is looking to tie in with applied research and social innovation, more specifically in the areas of community safety and well-being. So certainly, we said we've got the committee for you, and we've got a lot of really great engaged partners at those tables and at the action tables as well that have some great things going on and certainly might be able to use those funds. So the 3 kind of areas that we discussed with that group that might be possible for some of these funding opportunities. One is a potential with the Community Safety Wellbeing Plan, as Ms. Cotter mentioned, looking to update that plan. We have current data. We will be looking to populate with new data and certainly measure what's been achieved, but then also kind of set some new goals and priorities moving forward and figuring out how we look at measurables and outcomes out of that. Secondly, we discussed the potential for feasibility studies, and I know everybody kind of cringes when they hear feasibility studies because, we certainly want to see action out of these things as well, but, a potential might be looking at scoping specific issues, assessing what other communities are doing and what opportunities might be available to bring forward that are relevant to our community here. And then the third and final, and I'll just kind of maybe leave this with the committee to ponder, is a unique pilot project or opportunity that we might be able to present that would have impact on our community here. So those were the general kind of ideas and parameters that we discussed at very high level. And further to Lisa's comments with regards to the positions with the community health center not being funded. I certainly don't want to speak on their behalf. I know they are continuing to look at different funding opportunities and models moving forward, but that was certainly something that was discussed, and what other opportunities there might be for positions or projects that would have impact for the community in a positive way that support the key priorities from the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan.
Thank you, Director Grimmin, for that. And I do want to thank Mr. O'Malley and Inspector Reeve especially for making availability, and Lisa too, for some of these meetings and conversations and investigations that we've been doing to try to identify open spaces in the community for some of the services, and to see if we can make partnerships or find ways to fill some of those gaps. And it's been definitely a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations, but I think that we are definitely going in the right direction, and have a lot of possibilities in the near future. So I want to thank everyone for that. There's definitely a lot of energy and hard work and that's gone into it, and I think we'll definitely get there and get some projects rolling for sure. So is there any kind of cross discussion or further questions for Director Grimmin? Inspector Reeve?
I'm not sure if I missed it. Thank you. You said that the action tables have met monthly, Rebecca, three times monthly since we last met. Is there an update on what they've been doing or been working towards, or is that part of the roll-up that you're talking about coming out?
Thank you for the question. So through you, Mr. Chair, to the inspector. Truly, we've experienced a very low attendance at all three of these action table and committee meetings over the course of time. So really what we've been prioritizing our work together doing is taking a look back and gathering the data to assemble for the performance metrics. Now, just recently, as I had reported, the task force group has re-engaged its subcommittee to plan for the In Their Shoes walk. Ultimately, I think folks are struggling generally with resourcing capabilities to take on any new initiatives. That's what's been expressed to us. And it's my pleasure to be able to support these three committees while we continue to work towards eventually recruiting for the replacement for Lori Cowett. So in the absence of that position, right now we are, focused on moving towards the future of the next iteration of the plan. And there are no new initiatives on the radar at this time.
Thank you. So as a follow-up to that, who is doing the performance matrix measurements and the plan?
Thank you for the question. So through you to the inspector. Ultimately, the core work there is being done by myself. I've compiled a performance metrics tracking spreadsheet that's been shared with all the members of all three groups. So the OPP representatives on all three groups also have access to that information. And the call to action for all the members of all three groups is to collaboratively input their feedback into this tracking sheet. We're still in the very early days right now, but there's the opportunity to gather input from all of these members. So my hope is that any bandwidth that they have to be able to contribute towards the community safety wellbeing plan at this time is done administratively, and they take time to review the spreadsheet, offer their feedback and comments. What we did in the November meeting, because I had shared the spreadsheet out in October, was take a look at the first draft of the comments coming back from the members. Now, albeit there was not a lot of content, and that was the discussion around bandwidth and capacity, but moving forward, we will continue to revisit that spreadsheet again in January. It's still open for editing, and as it continues to build, I'll be able to continue to report back to this group, and then ultimately when it comes time to to writing a formal report and bringing that forward. Hopefully we have someone on board on my team who's able to lead that initiative. Otherwise, it'll continue to be myself.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no further discussion or conversations, I will move forward to new and other business. So we'll start with our Zoom members, Deborah and Shelby, if either of you have any new business or updates or anything.
Good afternoon. Nothing from me. Thank you.
Okay, Shelby.
Nothing from me either. I'm Shelby Wood. I'm from Trenton Probation and Parole. Just so that everybody knows, I started here in September, so I am very interested in learning on how we can bridge all the gaps.
Okay, thank you. I will start at this end of the horseshoe, Mr. O'Malley.
As far as updates, I've attended those meetings with Zach, and we did go to the DBIA and had, thanks to Ms. Kuipers for organizing the Welcoming Streets initiative that I think that is funded by the city of Belleville. And we got the privilege of hearing from the horse's mouth, I guess, if you will, the direct input from her on what's working, what's not, and it was very informative at a high level in terms of the strategy behind it and what's working. And it's one of the research things that we've been doing in terms of what the gaps are in Trenton, and that seems to be one of the ones that is a gap, if you believe, because there's the community health center that has their initiative, and the Welcoming Streets is somewhat different than that. So it's good to get both perspectives and see that in action as well. So that's about it.
Thank you. Yes, I'm just to follow up a little bit on that. I appreciate we had kind of a 1 hour program debrief from I believe it was Sarah, if I recall, Sarah Baring. I'm not sure her exact title now, but she was the initial steward, I guess, hired for the program and is now in a more of an administrative role. But it was very interesting because it obviously provided kind of the rapid response and was helping a lot of informative, best practices and information for business community members, but also just kind of regular members of the community, and really also focused on connecting vulnerable persons with those treatment possibilities. And it was very informative. They had a very high amount of time spent actually pounding the pavement on the ground, interacting with the clients, and they made sure not to duplicate services, and it was a very client-based approach and relationship-focused. Yeah, it absolutely could be a possibility for Quinte West to utilize a similar model. We're kind of trying to figure out the contours of where the gaps are and where it makes the most sense to try to focus. Always limited resources, but I think it was very telling that they had such support going to Belleville Council from the police chief, and also the business community, and I think a lot of the public, and there was seemed to be very strong community support from all aspects, which I thought was very very positive. And she mentioned a lot that they were able to they had a very in-depth tracking system for the client interactions, and I believe liaisoning with the police. There were certain types of calls that went down to the police services as the Welcoming Streets added the second steward, and their kind of interactions went up. You could kind of see the data interacting, and so it's a very interesting program. Been used in Guelph and Belleville, Kingston, Oshawa, many places in Ontario, and it's something that we're seriously looking at, and I appreciate everyone taking all the meetings and digging into it with me. Thank you. Inspector Reeve.
Thank you. I just finished doing the report back for a community safety and policing grant that pays for the Wellness Expo and Fair. And I noted that we have one more year for that, so we have funding for next year for that. And that also means that the new funding cycle for all of the police grants will be starting next spring. So I'll be looking for initiatives with partners for safer communities and vitalizing, and a lot of it is victim-centered, but may be able to tie in some fund requests through that as well. Wouldn't fund what you're speaking to, but possibly some of the other areas once the action tables are up and going.
That's wonderful. Okay, Brandy?
I guess. I guess just to note that the United Way has our funding applications open. The due date, you probably know better than I, is December 8th. So for any of the initiatives that don't have funding, the application process is open. It is open to charitable organizations, so it doesn't always qualify for you. Just of note, I'm pretty sure Welcoming Streets in Belleville lost their funding through the city of Belleville just recently. So that's something, the sustainability of that program is a tough one. The value proposition tends to lean into the merchants downtown versus, the people that are supported typically through homelessness prevention funding, right? So, it's a different kind of a model, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that program has just lost its funding.
And I will, yes, call on Kelly now.
I have nothing to update at this time.
Thank you. And I actually I wasn't sure if it was just Hastings County that they were denied for, or if the city itself they're actually also not going to be supportive. Is that the word? No. Okay.
Sorry, I don't believe so. I'm pretty sure that the city denied funding for this year.
Okay. Well, that's certainly unfortunate to hear, but yeah, I think that obviously being a first year counselor and kind of digging into these issues for the first time, it's abundantly clear that there are no silver bullets, and that it really takes everyone working together, and there are never enough resources, and obviously a long list of issues, and it's definitely a challenge, but I'm hoping that we can find a few of these potential funding outlets, and for the city to show leadership where possible, also not to duplicate our social service providers, and just keep working on the issue as the community wants us to. So I suppose that this is the end of our agenda at this point. If no one has anything else, I will ask for a mover and a seconder for adjournment, I suppose. Okay. We have a mover, Kelly, and a seconder, Brandy. Okay. All in favor? All right. We are officially adjourned. Thank you.